Hi, this is Marla Gibbs, also known as Florence on the Jeffersons, Mary on 227, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 88 greatest legs in show business, the world-famous Radio City Music Hall Rockettes.
Ed Robertson welcoming you back to TV Confidential, radio talk show about television that is very happy to welcome world-renowned actress, author, entrepreneur, and dancer Jennifer Jones. Jennifer first came onto the scene on January 31st, 1988, when she made her national debut with the world-famous Radio City Rockettes during the halftime show for Super Bowl 22 at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego. Not only that, Jennifer made history that day by becoming the first black member of the Radio City Rockettes in 63 years. That's the headline in big, bold type, folks. The story behind the headline, however, was that Jennifer was only hired to perform that day for the Super Bowl halftime show. She was not guaranteed a full-time spot with the Rockettes for another 8 months when she was finally hired to perform with the Rockettes at their annual Christmas Spectacular at Radio City Music Hall. Jennifer went on to enjoy a 13-year career with the Rockettes before retiring from them in 2002. By that time, she was performing every night in the Broadway revival of the musical 42nd Street, which not only won the Tony Award that year for Best Revival of a Musical, but which entertained audiences every night for 4 years. In between those career highlights, however, Jennifer Jones endured the ups and downs that many artists face while balancing the pursuit of their dreams with the everyday reality of paying their bills and taking care of their families. That is one of the many reasons her story is relatable. You will find it relatable. Jennifer shares her story in a new book called Becoming Spectacular, which we'll tell you more about in just a second. Jennifer Jones, welcome to TV Confidential.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
I have about 4 or 5 takeaways, things I learned from reading your book. I want to start with those first, and then we'll see where our conversation goes. In no particular order, you were the Jackie Robinson of the Rockettes.
Yes, actually. That's a very good way to put it. I entered a space that wasn't designed for me. And so when Radio City decided that they needed a black woman in the late 1980s, I broke the mold. And yes, I feel like I am the Jackie Robinson of the Rockettes.
And like Jackie, you were made to jump through some hoops that most other Rockettes didn't have to go through simply because of the color of your skin.
There were challenges, most definitely, especially when I came on the line, and when there is resistance to change, there is barriers that still need to be broken. There were ladies on the line and people in the organization who did not want me there and did make things difficult for me, but I leaned into the people who were ready to have diversity and inclusion on the line. But I will say a major part of what I think Radio City was not ready for was to have the same skin tone tights or the same color leotard, skin tone leotard that black women need to feel 100% put together when they step out onto the Radio City Music Hall stage. And those were challenges that would take years for them to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to enough actors to know that particularly if you're doing a costume piece, what you wear is part of what helps you assume the character you're assuming for that play or for that movie or for whatever. Now, you were performing live every night, but just the same, a consideration, a simple request about as to the color of your tights, that helped you get into character that night when you're performing with your fellow Rockettes, didn't it?
Yes, and putting on tights that were not the same skin tone as me, I felt mismatched. Mm-hmm. And I, also kind of felt like, they were just trying to blend the line, so like maybe the audience couldn't tell that there was a black woman on the line. So there was like a dual thought process that I had, but I still thought to have the skin tone tights.
The other, this touches on something you just said a little while ago about, okay, how when there were moments when you faced digs, subtle and not so subtle, about your being the first, you tapped into, the part of the Radio City culture that wanted to represent versus those that were stuck in the old ways. That was one of the things that helped you navigate that difficult time. I dare say, having read your books, Becoming Spectacular, Jennifer, that faith was one of the things that helped you get through that too.
Yes. I knew since I was 9 years old that I wanted to dance on stage and I wanted to walk out of a backstage door. And growing up, I was very shy, very quiet. But when I was introduced to the stage by my fourth grade teacher at the end of the year school recital was when I felt at home. I felt full on and full out, and I just loved it. So I leaned into my faith of knowing that was where my life was supposed to be. And I leaned into the ladies who wanted me to be the best Rockette possible and taught me the Rockette terminology and taught me how to do the eye-high kicks and the complicated tap steps. And no one was allowed to take that dream away from me. Just like no one was allowed to take it from any of them. And I got to dance on the same stage under the same light and with the lashes and the lipstick, and I got to live my dream and walk out of that backstage door.
Jennifer Jones is on the line with us. Jennifer Jones, the first African-American member of the world-renowned Radio City Rockette and an award-winning performer who was celebrated for her pioneering achievements and unwavering advocacy for equal rights in the arts. Jennifer's memoir, Becoming Spectacular, The Rhythm of Resilience from the First African-American Rockette, shares the various obstacles and trauma she had to overcome in the course of her life and career, including skepticism from some of the people who were supposed to support her. It also tells the story of her triumphant fight against colorectal cancer in 2018 and how Jennifer went from being told that she had less than 5 years to live to becoming cancer-free 12 months later. March 2026 is both Women's History Month and Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Becoming Spectacular by Jennifer Jones, available wherever books are sold through Amistad Press, an imprint of HarperCollins. You can also find it at Amazon.com, other online retailers. For our listeners in the Greater L.A. metro area, Jennifer Jones is also part of the new This Joint is Jumpin' exhibit at the Hollywood Museum. This Joint is Jumpin', a tribute to black artists, singers, actors, writers, and sports figures that becomes open to the public Thursday, February 19th. Jennifer's story is included along with the stories of such other talents as Whitney Houston, Lena Horne, Denzel Washington, Ella Fitzgerald, Dionne Warwick, Eddie Murphy, Muhammad Ali, Richard Pryor, Halle Berry, Viola Davis, Whoopi Goldberg, and Oprah Winfrey. This Joint is Jumpin' opens Friday, February 19th at the Hollywood Museum. Tickets and more information, thehollywoodmuseum.com.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson, thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode.
Hi, this is Marion Hartley, and you are listening to TV Confidential.
You can follow Jennifer Jones on her website, Rockette Jen. That's Jen, Jen, RocketteJen.com. You can also follow Jennifer on Instagram at Rockette_Jen. I want to ask you about your cancer journey in just a second, but to touch on some of the other takeaways I got from reading your book. There's a perception that still exists that once you quote-unquote make it in the entertainment industry, or once you quote-unquote make it as an artist, you never have to worry about money again. Sometimes that's true. Most times it isn't true. And in your case, while you did make good money at the time you were with the Rockettes, it was a seasonal job. And there were 6, 8, 9 months of the year when you had to support yourself, when you weren't dancing. And what makes your story, for lack of a better word, significant is that you found a way to support yourself all that time without a college degree, which is not easy to do.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I went to my guidance counselor my senior year. And at that point, it seemed like all of my peers and all of my friends knew what college they were going to and what they were going to major in. And I was kind of lost. And then I finally went to her and I told her that I wanted to go to Glassboro State College and study dance. She told me that I wasn't ready for a 4-year school. And I didn't even know what that meant at 18 years old. So I went to a county college and I majored in dance there. My mother took me to New York City saying, if you're going to dance, you need to study, in New York. And I ended up, getting my associates, but then leaving college. And it was difficult during my Rockette years, finding jobs. And a lot of the women on the line, they told me to claim unemployment, but I was so young and healthy, I really didn't want to do that. I did end up opening a dance and fitness center that I had for 3 years. And that was something that I really enjoyed having in the community and having people work out with me. And step aerobics was just coming on the scene, and so I was the first studio to introduce that. And then I also had the opportunity to tour the country as a Rockette with Susan Anton, and Maurice Hines was the choreographer, Joe Layton was the choreographer, and I got paid to do what I love to do and see the country.
Going back to the point, I mean, there were times when, after your Rockette career and after your run on 42nd Street, when, every artist experiences peaks and valleys, and you're no exception. And it was hard. It was hard sometimes when you were in some of those valleys, but once again, and this goes back to the matter of faith and the role providence played in your life, when there were difficult times, something would happen that would get you through that and lead you to the next thing.
Yes. So after my time on Broadway, the show closed, and auditioning certainly doesn't pay the bills. So I had to step away from the entertainment industry. Being a single mother with 2 small children, I still needed to put food on the table, clothes on their backs, and keep a roof over their head. So I transitioned out of dancing, and I worked behind the scenes at Jazz at Lincoln Center for a little while, and worked my way into a 9-to-5 industry that would bring in paychecks so I could support my family. And I actually learned that my background as a dancer, as a Rockette, being on time, being precise, learning quickly, such as choreographies, being able to pick things up, I was able to transform that into a 9-to-5 job and pick things up, be on time, work as a team. So I was very thankful that I could transmute all of my skills.
Yes, I mean, it's when one puts together a resume or a CV, sometimes it's not easy to see how your experience doing this puts you in a position to do that. But as you just say, when you think about it and apply and go into the business of selling yourself, which you have to do when you're interviewing for a job or auditioning, for a part. All the tools you learned from your experiences come to the fore and serve you at the moment you need them to serve you.
Absolutely. And faith, having that faith, you have to also have action with that. So you can't sit back and not work for something and work to be better or work to get better. And whatever you work for, whatever comes to your life will never pass you by. I think that as long as you work hard, you have a dream, you have a goal, keep going, and whatever challenges come up, there are opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow, and never let go of that inner light that gets you up in the morning.
My other takeaway from your book, Jennifer, is you can be a successful person, you could be a world-renowned person, but still battle self-doubt.
Absolutely. I think, yes, you can. I think everyone can battle self-doubt, but sometimes I think it begins at an external force. And I can pinpoint where my self-doubt came from. It came from when I was on the Rockette line, and right before my debut performance for the Super Bowl halftime show, the head of PR for Radio City pulled me aside and told me that nobody cares about me, my story, that I'm old news and I'm lucky to be on the line. And I believed her. I was 20 years old. I thought she knew the media. I didn't think anybody cared about my story. I was lucky to be there. Maybe she thought I wasn't talented enough. And I began to doubt myself. And it actually went through years of my life of self-doubting and not believing in my own ability. So it was like peeling back layers of an onion to realize that it was her beliefs and they were not my beliefs. And I think that, anyone who is going through self-doubt, to seek, mental health avenues to figure out and pinpoint where does that stem from and go through the peeling back of the layers. Because it comes from somewhere, I believe, external.
And not to let those feelings, when they surface, define who you are. And to remember that, okay, there are certain things we can't unhear, or they may take us a long time before we completely unhear them. But there are other things we have done that disprove the feeling of worthiness that and I speak as a working artist myself, Jennifer, that we all go through in the course of our career.
Yes. And I think on some level it's kind of natural to question, should I be doing this, or is this the right direction? Or there are, some of those questions come from within, and those questions are when you just have to sit with yourself and be quiet, be still, and things will flush out that way.
Jennifer Jones is on the line with us. Jennifer Jones, the first African-American member of the world-renowned Radio City Rockettes and the author of an inspirational memoir called Becoming Spectacular. Jennifer's going to stay with us for one more segment. We hope you'll stay with us as we continue our conversation with Jennifer Jones here on TV Confidential.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-222-0511. 800-222-0511. Again, that's 800-222-0511.